بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. So tonight's lesson would be the final part on the era of the two Imams, Al-Kadhimain. Al-Kadhimain are the seventh Imam and the eighth Imam. Seventh and eighth Imam Musa al-Kadhim alayhi salam, Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim, and Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha alayhim salam. We said how long this period lasted approximately. Their period.
148 to like 203. 55 years.
Almost 50 some years. Now, what are the main features of this period? We mentioned last time that this period, compared to the period before it, the period before it was what period?
Legislation.
The Sadiqain. Who were the Sadiqain?
Muhammad Bakr ibn Ja'far.
Exactly, which also lasted for how long?
50 years.
Almost half a century, 50 years. This period, compared to the previous one, is a period of relative what?
Not as much freedom.
No, a period of relative, huh? Which one was more freedom?
Fifth and sixth.
That one.
Yeah.
That one, a period of ease for the Imams, but this one, a period of what?
Or suppression.
Suppression, exactly, suppression. Because both Imams, especially the seventh Imam, he ended up in jail for so many years. Some people say 4, some people say 11, total of 11 years. And of course, Imam al-Ridha also was brought from Medina to Khurasan, but subhanallah, it turned to be for him, not against him. Ma'mun intended for the Imam to keep him under house arrest and disqualify the Imam and tell the people, see, he's defeated. The one that you love and you consider him to be an iconic figure of knowledge, he's defeated. But alhamdulillah, through the knowledge that they inherited from their grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Imam he did brilliantly, very well, and his last 3 years, the last 3 years of his life where he spent in Maru. Remember, always historians refer to that city as Maru. Maru. Maru is the city, but the province was what? Khurasan. Khurasan. And Khurasan at that time was much bigger than today's Khurasan, the province. Much wider. Encompassed Bukhara, Tashkent, and these cities which is today under Tajikistan and Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan and these republics. At that time, it was under the name, one name, unified name, which was Khurasan at that time, 1200 years ago. So the main features, characteristics of their time, number one is al-riwayah. Al-riwayah means riwayah means narrations of what? Narrations of what, my friends? Hadith, exactly. Narrations of hadith, historians believe that the time of these two imams comes after the time of whom? Exactly. And Imam Ali. Number one, Imam Ali. The number of narrations we have from Imam Ali is the largest because he was closest to the Prophet, closer to the Prophet. And also, even the other traditions and other schools, they respect Imam Ali. He's Sahabi, at least he's Sahaba companion, at least, So they have narrations on his behalf. After Imam Ali comes the period of Sadiqain, Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq, which had also the highest number of hadith. Why? Why do you think they had the highest number of hadith? And then we come to this period. This period of those two imams also has the highest number of hadith, more than the time of what imams? Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, and Imam Zain al-Abidin. And more than the time of the imams who are going to come after them, which is Imam al-Jawad, Imam al-Hadi, and Imam Hassan al-Askari. So who's number one at the top of the list in terms of the number of hadiths? Imam Ali. Number two, Sadiqain, Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq. Number three, Kadhimain, Imam al-Kadhim, Imam al-Rida. Now why do you think Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Zain al-Abidin, we don't have much hadith from them?
You said because the Umayyads had suppressed them from...
Exactly. That time was the time of severe suppression against Ahl al-Bayt. So sectarianism and Shia phobia was on the rise at that time, which culminated in what? In the murdering of Imam Hussein. Murdering of Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Prophet. Many companions saw him with his grandfather, and the Prophet refers to him as Sayyid Shababi Ahl al-Jannah, the master of the youth of paradise, but yet he was murdered. And that reflects how much ignorance, prejudice, and Shia phobia was at that time. And this was because of Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. Muawiyah, do you know who follows Muawiyah in his severity of his animosity against Ahl al-Bayt? But before, Ibn Taymiyyah is only 700 years ago. No, from the Khulafa. From the Khulafa. I'm speaking about Khulafa. After Muawiyah. Of course, his son Yazid was, playboy. We don't consider him to be. But from the Khulafa, who was a mastermind of hate and manipulation against Ahl al-Bayt, who galvanized the people, turned the people against Imam Ali and Ahl al-Bayt after Muawiyah. After Muawiyah, there were many enemies, but I'm speaking in terms of enormity and severity. After him comes Al-Mansur al-Abbasi. Mansur al-Abbasi. Mansur, who murdered Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He murdered Imam al-Sadiq. So imagine, after Muawiyah, we have several decades after him, comes Al-Mansur, who ultimately murdered Imam al-Sadiq, and he was so hateful to Ahl al-Bayt. And he was the one, Al-Mansur al-Abbasi was the one who made it official, who made it mandatory to mention the name of the Khulafa during the Friday sermons, Friday prayers, Khutbatul Jum'ah. Allahumma arda an Abi Bakr wa Umar wa Uthman. They pray for them. That happened during the time of Al-Mansur al-Abbasi. He was so hateful against Imam Ali and Ahl al-Bayt. And he's one of the main founders of the Abbasid dynasty that lasted for over 600 years. And ultimately he murdered Imam al-Sadiq. He was so jealous of Imam al-Sadiq. Okay, so this is the riwayah. So the marwiyat, narrations that we have, the collection we have, is number one. Imam Ali is number one. Sadiqain number two. Kadhimain number three. Though it was an era of what? Oppression against them. But still, Shia expanded, subhanallah. Shia started to expand. And they had a big number of followers, big number of students. And then what also, if you can tell me, what else, which I already put it on the board, if you look at the board, one of these points on the board, that also contributed into the spread of Ahlul Bayt's tradition. Which one?
Raising scholars. Debate.
And what else? Below raising scholars. Books. When you write books, books are published. Books are sent elsewhere. The scholar cannot travel. He's in this city, but his books reaches eastward, westward. So people look at the books, read the books. So books and writings contributed into the spreading, and this is why the imams used to encourage their students, write assignments. Don't just sit in the classroom and just, write. I want you to write, compile, write, and publish and send, and leave a legacy, and inshallah you are going to be writers too. Don't be surprised. You will be writers. God has given you. Do you know that those who wrote books, and some of these books are bestsellers, they were not the writers. They don't have the skills. They hire a ghostwriter for $100,000, $200,000. 70% of the work is done by the ghostwriter. They give him ideas, they tell him the story, and he puts it in together, and then it becomes a bestseller. This is how it works in America. Ghostwriter. Okay, so this was number one, riwayat. Riwayat of the Imams. We're going to give examples of this, of some of the books that have been compiled on behalf of both Imams. I'm going at the end, inshallah, to give you maybe 2 examples of each. Then we go to number 2. Also, the Imams continued the work of their predecessors, which is tadris. Where would they teach? What college? What was their venue of teaching? Where? Which mosque? Which mosque? No, Medina. The 2 Imams were, except Imam al-Kadhim, he was brought by force to Iraq, to Basra and Baghdad, and then he died in Baghdad. Otherwise, he was in Medina. Imam al-Rida was brought by force to Khurasan, to Marw, for 3 years. So, but the rest of it, in Medina, of course. This was their seat of teaching, just like their ancestors, predecessors, Imam al-Sadiq, Imam al-Baqir, Imam Zain al-Abidin. The mission started from the time of Imam Zain al-Abidin. Teaching, tadris, started after Ashura, after year 61. When Imam Hussein was murdered, Imam Zain al-Abidin came back to Medina, and he started launching this university, this school. So started during his time. But it was not official. It became official and organized. It took shape during what time? Baqir, Imam al-Baqir, his son, Imam al-Baqir. Was he in Karbala, Imam al-Baqir? Yes. How old was he? 4. He was a child. So he was taken from Karbala to Kufa to Sham with the Sabaya, with the captives, with women and children. So he was 4 years old. But then his father came, he started this mission, but then it started forcefully during the time of Imam al-Baqir. It was organized. So Imam al-Baqir had a chair, Imam al-Sadiq, Imam al-Kadhim, Imam al-Rida, in Masjid al-Nabi. They would teach in Masjid al-Nabi, and as I said, Imam al-Rida would teach at the age of what? 21, 22. And historians say other Imams are teaching too, but someone comes with a big question, complicated question. They get tired, they can't answer, they tell him, go to that young man. And whatever answer he gives you, come and tell us the answer. فَإِذَا أَعْيَا الْوَاحِدُ مِنْهُمْ. When one of those scholars, أَعْيَا means what in Arabic? أعيا, when one of them becomes tired, exactly. Tired, أعيا, becomes tired. إعياء, in Arabic, tiredness is إعياء. إعياء, this is tiredness. So when you speak formal Arabic, say, I did not come to the class because of i'ya. I'll give you 100% because of using this. Okay? So they turned to Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu wassalam. And then, even Ma'mun, who murdered this Imam, Imam al-Rida, who murdered Imam al-Kadhim? Harun. In the prison of Sindi ibn Shahid. Prison. But the caliph was Harun. And who murdered Imam al-Rida? Ma'mun al-Abbasi. Even Ma'mun al-Abbasi, when he brought Imam Rida all the way from Medina to Marw, several weeks. It's a big distance, huh? Today go to Google Map and see the distance between Medina and Khurasan. It's a big distance. With airplane it takes 3 hours. So he asked the man who was in charge of bringing the Imam. His name is Raja ibn Abi al-Dhahhak. He said to him, what did you notice from Ali ibn Musa al-Rida during this trip? He said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, he's telling the Ma'mun, Ya Amir al-Mu'minin, this man, whenever he goes to any city we pass by, any village, people come, ask him questions, and he's like he gushes out of knowledge. Every question he addresses, he never says, I don't know. The Ma'mun said to him, of course. هذا خير أهل الأرض وأعلمهم. Because this man is the best person who walks on earth and he's the most knowledgeable. So even Ma'mun acknowledged the stature of Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu wassalam. And then, of course, even when he went to Khurasan, to Marw, though the political climate was not conducive, but the Imam turned his house into madrasa, into school. So he would teach inside this house. The Imams, under no circumstances, they ceased to teach. Even when they were sick. When they were sick. Imam al-Hasan was dying. He was throwing blood because of the poison. And he was dying any minute. Someone comes to him, "Idhni ibn Rasulullah, advise me, tell me something good." Imam sits. He doesn't tell him, well, I'm sick, I'm dying, leave me alone. He starts telling him all these hikmah, beautiful hikmah. نعم استعد لسفرك وحصل زادك قبل حلوله. Someone has to sit and think and get a pen and paper and make his brain ready to be able to write these things. But the Imams, spontaneously, he starts giving him the knowledge, these beautiful hikmah. And then, of course, I mentioned last time that Ma'mun, when he tried to undermine and undercut the Imam, what did he do? One of his this is one of them, but also when he wanted to defeat the Imam, what did he do?
He brought scholars.
Exactly, debates. So he brought the scholars, and at that time, my friends, Khurasan was the seat, not just the seat of the Khilafah, the Caliphate, seat of knowledge also. Seat of knowledge. It was seat of knowledge. It was compatible, equal to Medina, even more than Medina sometimes. So it had all the scholars gathered there. It was the hub of scholars. And then he had these major debates, and Imam was always the winner in that debate. And then we come to point number 3, raising scholars. Many scholars were raised, many scholars, Ashabul Imam, but I'm going to write the name of only the top 6 among them. The top 6, as we did with which Imam? We did with Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq. Do you remember? Shall I ask you their names? Did you memorize them? If I ask you now? Huh? Exactly. Yeah, mashallah, yeah? Yeah. So those, but the companions of the two Imams, Imam al-Kadhim, the top ones, number 1. I'm going to read their name. Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman. Yunus ibn just write them down in case one day you wanted to know. Number 2, Wasfan ibn Yahya. Wasfan ibn Yahya. This is number 2. And number 3 is Abdullah. These are easy names. Ibn al-Mughira. And number 4, Al-Hasan ibn Mahbub. Al-Hasan ibn Mahbub. And number 5, Muhammad ibn Abi Umair. And finally, number 6, Ahmad ibn Muhammad. Ibn Muhammad. So number 1, Yusuf ibn Abdul Rahman. 2, Wasfan ibn Yahya. Number 3, Abdullah ibn al-Mughira. Number 4, Hassan ibn Mahbub. Number 5, Muhammad ibn Abi Umair. Number 6, Ahmad ibn Muhammad. And they said the top one among them was Yunus and Wasfan. Those were the top of the class. Top of the class. And they said many things about them. We are not going to spend time, you know. And then when people come to Imam al-Rida, they say, إني لا أقدر على لقائك في كل وقت. I don't have access to you every time. فعن من آخذ معالم ديني. From whom you recommend I get the knowledge of my religion? Imam says to him, خذ عن يونس بن عبد الرحمن. When I am not available, come to this man. Come to this man. Come to this man. Okay.
These are students of both imams?
Both imams, yes. Students of both imams, not just in terms of knowledge, in terms of piety, in terms of commitment. So imams, they really invested. Those are scholars that Imam invested their time in raising them, in teaching them, in training them. And of course, there are others, my friends, but we just put the name of 6 because we don't go into many details here. Okay. And then we come to number 4 here. Number 4. Look at number 4. What does it say on the board? Writing. What do we call it in Arabic? Writing. Authoring. Writing. What do we call it? Huh? تأليف. التأليف. And of course, they encourage their students to write essays, write papers, write books on many subjects, different subjects of knowledge, on fiqh, on usul, on tafsir, on hadith, on kalam, on, okay? What was the reason for their writings, my friends? Question that I am asking you.
So they could spread the knowledge.
They can spread and protect the knowledge. Because if you don't write it, it's going to be, people are going to die. People are going to die. He has a big brain, he memorizes, but when he dies, can you go and retrieve it from his brain? You can't. The brain is dead. So put it on paper before you go. Put it on paper. You have to pass it. This is amana. This is amana. Hadith says zakatul ilm. Even you guys, even you sometimes when you sit with your kids, teach them. You have these notes. Tell them. Zakatul ilmi nashruhu. Zakatul ilm. لكل شيء zakat. The Prophet says for everything there is an amount of taxation. What are the taxation of ilm? To spread it, to share it. Nashruhu. Share it with your wife, with your son, with your neighbor, with your friend. Share it. Don't keep it to yourself. When you share it, you are doing 2 services. One, to the person resurrecting a soul. Second, you learn more. When you teach, you're going to learn more. You don't forget. You don't forget. When you teach something, it stays in your mind. Okay? Now, and then I mentioned some of these books. Shall I erase these names? Shall I erase them?
Yes.
Okay. Let me write some of the books. I promise you to give you a couple of examples on the books that were written by the students of the Imams. The students of the Imams. So one of those books is Musnadul Imam Musa ibn Ja'far. Musnad. I write the name. Musnad. Musnad al-Imam Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam. Musnad. Okay? This book was written by Musa ibn Ibrahim al-Marwazi from Maru. His name is Musa ibn Ibrahim, the one who wrote this Musnad. What does Musnad mean, my friend? And now this book has been printed. يعني, it was taken from a library, old library. It was a manuscript written by hand. Someone, a scholar came and he printed it. يعني modern print, a book. What does Musnad mean? Compilation of hadith, but what type of hadith? Why do we call it Musnad? Musnad comes from isnad.
Some kind of evidence for it? Some
Evidence, but Ali.
From a sanad, يعني,
Yeah.
so like
What about the sanad?
chain,
Some. What about the chain?
from Imam Ja'far's chain.
Imam Musa al-Kadhim. So the chain of narrators goes to the Imam. It's not cut off. It ends with the Imam Musa ibn Ja'far. So when it ends to the Imam, chain of narrators, an fulan, an fulan, an fulan, an Musa ibn Ja'far. This is called Musnad. Yani we know the sanad. The sanad is not cut off. It's not ambiguous and non. No, it is non. It is non. Ma'loom. Ma'loom, so it's called Musnad. Musnad. Yasniduhu ila al-Imam. He refers the hadith to the Imam. All the way it goes back to whom? To the Imam. When it goes all the way back to the Imam, then this is called Musnad. Musnad, okay? Now, and then there are, of course, another book, and by the name of Al-Ja'fariyat. Al-Ja'fariyat, because the Musnad goes through Imam Musa al-Kadhim to whom? To whom? It ends with whom? To his father, Imam al-Sadiq. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. This is why the name of the book is Al-Ja'fariyat. Sometimes, my friends, you're going to see when you read books, Islamic books, in the footnote here, in the footnote, you see Al-Ja'fariyat. And then you remember, oh, Sayyid one day in the classroom mentioned this name. So this means the narration goes all the way. The narration that comes gathered in this book, goes all the way to whom? Imam al-Sadiq. Through whom? Through, via Imam Musa al-Kadhim. So Imam Musa al-Kadhim says, me, an abi, on behalf of my father. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam.
Who wrote that one, say it? Sorry.
Someone who lived in Egypt. His name, Ismail, the son of Imam al-Kadhim. Son of Imam al-Kadhim wrote this book. So he's the grandson of Imam al-Sadiq, and he's Egyptian because he left Medina to Egypt. He lived in Egypt, and today his offsprings are in Egypt, and they are called Ja'afira. Ja'afira is a family that are the descendants of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq.
What was his name again?
Ismail, the son of Imam Musa al-Kadhim. Ismail, the son of Imam Musa al-Kadhim, okay? Ismail, the son of Imam Musa al-Kadhim. Ismail, and his descendants in Egypt are Al-Ja'afira. It's a well-known tribe and family. If you go to Egypt, the family, the tribe of Ja'afira, are the grandchildren of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam.
So Ismail
No, 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 no. That Ismail was the son of Imam Sadiq. This Ismail is the son of Imam Musa al-Kadhim. So don't get mixed between them. Yeah, difference. That Ismail is the uncle of this Ismail. Because he was the brother of Imam al-Kadhim. Ismail, the Ismailis belong to Ismail, who's the uncle of Imam Musa al-Kadhim. The brother of Imam Musa al-Kadhim, the uncle of this Ismail. This is a different Ismail. This Ismail went to Egypt and he was Ithna Ashari. He was on the path of Ahl Bayt. And then we come to Imam al-Rida. Imam al-Rida also has Musnadul Imam al-Rida. Same thing. Musnadul Imam al-Rida alayhi salatu wassalam. And then he has also an important book, which is Fiqh al-Rida. Fiqh al-Rida. This book also, so we have two books. Of course, more than two books. I'm just mentioning what is important here. Let me erase this. So, one book is Musnad al-Imam al-Rida. Musnad, again. Musnad al-Imam al-Rida. And then Fiqh al-Rida. Fiqh al-Rida. Fiqh al-Rida alayhi salam. Which in this book, only the narrations that are based on what? Jurisprudence. Ahsanti. Are based on jurisprudence written in this book. And then, of course, there is another book which today is found in the libraries, in the bookstores, Tibb al-Rida. Tibb al-Rida, the medicine of Imam al-Rida. There is a book. Yeah. Tibb al-Rida, I have it. It's in Farsi, it's probably in English, in Arabic. Tibb al-Rida, the medicine of Imam al-Rida, alayhi salatu wassalam. Let me conclude with this, my friends, before we go. Let me conclude with this. Hadith silsilat al-dhahab. Before we go, let me conclude with what does hadith silsilat al-dhahab mean? Why it is golden chain?
Because it comes from the Imam Rasulullah.
Every chain can be.
It reaches up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Reaches up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yani imagine this chain of narrators moves 190 years. The Prophet died what year?
11.
Imam al-Rida died. So 203 minus 11.
Almost 200.
Imam al-Rida says, I heard this hadith from my father, Imam al-Kadhim. He heard it from his father, As-Sadiq, from Al-Baqir, from Zayn al-Abidin, from Imam Hussein, from Amir al-Mu'mineen, from Rasulullah, from Jibreel from Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. Every piece of knowledge is found in this. I sometimes call it God's laptop. Every piece of knowledge is mentioned. عن الله سبحانه وتعالى كلمة لا إله إلا الله حصني كلمة لا إله إلا الله حصني حصني means patient حصني حصن, this is حصن, okay? حصن, a fortified place, whether it is castle, whether it's a house, is called hisn. It's hard to penetrate. It is hard to conquer, hisn. The soldiers use the hisn. If you go to the old castles, they have in the corners of this castle, each corner, there is what? There is a tower, and that tower is called Husn. So the soldiers go inside to protect this castle. bastion. كلمة لا إله إلا الله حصني. فمن دخل حصني, whoever embraces this حصن, أمن من عذابي. He will be secure of my punishment. Then the Imam moved. And then he stopped again. He said, بشرطها وشروطها. It has conditions. It's not, don't think someone says, لا إله إلا الله, خلاص. He has multiple visa to paradise. No, it has conditions. And these conditions, one of them, وأنا من شروطها. أنا means imama. Not just لا إله إلا الله, and nubuwa, and also imama of Ahlul Bayt. Imama is one of these conditions. So you have to believe in the nubuwa of the Prophet and the imam of the imams, then inshallah he will be secured. This hadith was said just before he reached Marw in a city called Naysabur. Naysabur. Today Naysabur, but the original name Naysabur, Sin, Naysabur. Naysabur was a very flourishing city, not too far from Mashhad, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours drive, maybe an hour and a half, maybe, or 2 hours. Very flourishing city. So when Imam was about to leave their town, because he would stop from Medina tomorrow, he would stop 1 night here, 2 nights there. The ulama came and they circled around his caravan. They said, Yabna Rasulillah, bihaqqi jaddik, we make a vow on you, qasam, with the status of your grandfather Rasulullah. We ask you to tell us a hadith that this hadith is connected to the Prophet. You heard it from your father heard it from his father, from the Prophet. Can you tell us? And they carried pen and paper. Dawat, wa mahbara. Dawat wa mahbara. Mahbara, it's like something like this, where you put the ink in it. And then they put the pen. Have you seen old movies? They put the pen and then they start writing. And then put it again. Okay, take some ink and write. Okay? So they were gathered, and he was already riding his camel. Mahmal. Camel is like the saddle that you put, and people sit in it, At that time it was where you go inside and you sit. It's like a chair. So he removed the cover or the blinds, and he took his head out and he said this hadith, that I heard this hadith from my father, from his father, an abih, an أمير المؤمنين عن رسول الله على اللوح المحفوظ عن جبرائيل على اللوح المحفوظ عن الله تعالى لا إله كلمة لا إله إلا الله حصني, my bastion حصني فمن دخل حصني أمن من عذابي. And the interesting thing, the people who were, because at that time there was no microphone. So if there is a big gathering, how should the speaker addresses a huge gathering? Let's say hundreds of people, sometimes thousands. What was the way? No microphone.
Stand on a mountain.
Even if you stand, your voice gets to 20 meters.
Yell.
Even if you yell.
Some people
Thousands in a stadium. Imagine if you today address the stadium, Angels Stadium. You yell, who can hear your voice?
would they repeat?
Exactly. There is a person whose job is to stand next to the speaker. He has a loud voice, because Imam does not scream, it's not appropriate for them. They don't do this. So that man, his name is, his professional name is Mustamli. Mustamli. So he hear what the Imam says, and then he pass it to the people. The interesting thing is that this Mustamli was one of the greatest scholars of Ahlul Sunnah. Yes. His name, one of the greatest scholars of Imam Abu Zar'ah al-Razi from Shahrari. From Razi means Shahrari. Abu Zar'ah. Al-Imam Abu Zar'ah al-Razi. He was the one who was standing next to the mahmal, to the saddleback, and he would pass the hadith of the Imam to the Jumhur, to the huge crowd of the scholars who were standing there. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.